Hello, welcome to Chapter 2, Helper, Know Thyself. We are on to Chapter 2 in the Intro to Social Work and Human Services course. Welcome to a very important chapter and one really that should not be overlooked. You must know yourself before you can help others know themselves. This is not to say that you need to be the perfect person to be the perfect helper, but rather be mindful that developing competence as a helper is an ongoing process that takes many years of supervised practice and introspection. The most problematic supervisory issue is when the student feels that they already know it all or already has healed themselves, and therefore I don't have any more need for self-improvements. Life always involves growth and change and development, and that is true for you personally and professionally. Your experience in trying to make your own life better or different is a valuable role model that will also serve your client. Your clients will change you as much as you will change your clients. That is not to say that we use the counseling relationship to our benefit, but rather that we have the awareness that through human relationships we all change. This chapter focuses on two general areas of growth and development: your own family of origin issues and the life transitions and experiences that you have had so far. Two terms on the slide probably need some more definition than what was provided in the textbook. Transference is the feelings, both positive and negative, that a client holds about the counselor due to their own prior experiences. Examples: you remind the client of their mother, or you remind the client of their best friend that recently passed away. Transference is a potential tool for the counselor to use, but only if the counselor recognizes the transference. Countertransference, the last term on the slide, is the feelings, again both positive and negative, that the counselor holds about the client. This is generally not helpful in the counseling relationship, and in fact can be quite damaging if there is no self-awareness on the counselor's part. The way I always remember this is counter is counselor. That's how I remember the difference between transference and countertransference. So countertransference is the feelings that the counselor holds about the client. Countertransference issues should be recognized and worked on by the counselor, not with the client, but in the context with their supervisor or in their own private therapy. An example is that you as the counselor are currently going through a divorce, and the client comes in and he begins expressing his concerns about his own relationship. Because the counselor, you, are angry with your own divorce, you begin to steer the client towards angry and hostile emotions in the session. This can be without awareness or with awareness. However, the client begins to be more aggressive at home with his own relationship, and then that relationship soon fails too. Because the counselor was unaware of their own feelings about their own divorce, they began to transfer their feelings onto the client. As a result, the client did not get the opportunity to truly explore their own feelings about their relationship, and if they had, they may have had a different outcome of the counseling. Work in the human services field can be very stressful, and you can experience secondary trauma from listening to the circumstances that your clients have or are facing. It is very important to have a place where you will be able to continually explore your own reactions and feelings in order to decrease the stress that accumulates after working with so many clients. A recommendation is that human services workers could benefit from their own counseling, either individual or group. Another very important relationship for the new human services helper is the relationship with their supervisor. Please develop a trusting working relationship with your supervisor or your boss to discuss your reactions and steps that you take with your clients. As I mentioned, this chapter focuses on working with your own family of origin issues. The family of origin is the family that you grew up with. Of course, there are many different types of families, and families are also impacted by culture, extended family relationships, intergenerational issues, and socioeconomic and environmental concerns. An excellent way to improve your self-awareness about your family is to journal. Again, throughout this chapter, there are many questions posed to you that you could write about in your journal. Understanding your own family experiences during childhood, adolescence, and even early adulthood will help you to understand the clients that you are going to be working with. A genogram is like a diagram or a map or a family tree about your family. A genogram is a really important tool, not only to use for your own family and your own self-development, but it's also a tool that you would teach your clients to use. A single genogram activity can address, review, and provide a tool for you to discover many issues and questions that you may have now or have in the past about your family. So, for example, you could use a genogram, develop a genogram, and specifically look at all of the members in your family, for example, that finished college, and then those that didn't finish college. See if you see any intergenerational messages or any expectations from family, your parents, your grandparents that may have been handed down. So many issues, those of addiction, for example, or mental illness, can be traced through genograms, and it provides a very workable structure for clients and for you to take a look at your structure and your emotional significance with different members of your family. So if you're not familiar with the genogram, here's a genogram of the Star Wars family. I thought it was especially pertinent, and you can see how it works. You have different squares represent males, circles represent the females, and you have the different relationships, those who are married and the brothers and sisters and so forth. And on a genogram, then you make notes about whatever topic or pattern that you're trying to explore with your client or with yourself. I put some files in the file menu on the left-hand side of the canvas for templates for genograms and the rules for understanding and writing genograms. Try it and have fun discovering your own family relationships. There are 3 general theories about lifelong personality development that the Coreys are using in this chapter. The psychosocial theory of human development. This is by Erik Erikson. He talks about different stages of group. We'll get different stages of life. We'll get into that in a minute. Armstrong presents that there are gifts to each stage of life. And then lastly, self in context. So taking a look at your role in the family. And the textbook weaves together these 3 different personality developmental theories really nicely. I really like the way that the chapter flows using these 3 different theories. So they talk about 9 stages of development from infancy to old age. And the first stage, of course, is infancy, which is birth to age 1. Early childhood from ages 1 to 3. Preschool, ages 3 to 6. Middle childhood, adolescence, and then we'll get to the others in a minute. So, for example, under preschool age, which was ages 3 to 6, Erik Erikson says that children seek to find out what they are able to do. The core struggle at this time is initiative versus guilt. The basic task of a preschooler, a 3-year-old or 4-year-old, is to establish a sense of competence and initiative. During this period of time also, children begin to identify with different gender roles. They form a picture of appropriate male and female behaviors. And so it's a really important stage of development over the life. All people go through the stages, and your progress depends upon an earlier stage and having a good outcome at that earlier stage. Let's take a look. Here's the rest of the 9 stages from infancy to old age. Let's take a look at early adulthood. Early adulthood is ages 20 to 35. So in adolescence, we already mastered our conflicts over identity. But now, in early adulthood, our identity is continually tested anew. The core struggle here is really about intimacy versus isolation. In early adulthood, we're looking to form intimate relationships, largely depending upon having a clear sense of ourself. So here you can see how our identity, which was built in adolescence, now impacts our intimacy in early adulthood. Intimacy involves sharing, giving of ourselves, relating to another person based upon our strengths, and working out a relationship with that person. Now, Armstrong says that the gift here for young adulthood is the gift or the principle of enterprise. So finding a home and a partner, establishing a career, you need enterprise to do those things. You see the other stages of life and the different ages associated. Think about this, these life transitions, with your own life. And again, if you would like to do some exploration of these different life transitions in your chapter, there are quite a few questions about the, and here's some more questions that you could journal about. What are some of the major turning points in your development? How have your earlier experiences impacted your present way of thinking, feeling, and behaving? And are there ways that you've converted your problems in different transitional life stages into sources of strength? So the chapter includes the opportunity again to journal and to self-reflect on your own family of origin. Give it a try. Do some extra work here. I think if you really are serious about going into the human services field, it will be very helpful. Our next chapter, chapter 3, is about values, and so we're going to continue to explore yourself. Remember, on chapter 2, you have a discussion forum and also a quiz.